Good morning, everybody. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. And on today, folks, I'm going to be going into not just what P.I.L.L Method stands for, prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. Not just that this is the new financial education. Um, what we're going to be talking about today is challenging your understanding of debt. What does that mean? We're getting ready to put together a 5-day challenge for all of you. Okay? 5-day challenge online so that you can challenge your current understanding of how debt is structured, how it is all put together, how it affects your life long term. I want you to know today that we have been conditioned to give away our money using the debt system, and not just the wrong way that we've been told we were doing it, but when we follow the rules exactly, we're doing exactly what people want us to do, to give away their money. We've been conditioned to do that. So I'm going to be putting some things on the screen today, and I need you all to lock into this, okay? Lock into it. I got some things going on over here that I need to turn off. Good. All right, there we are. Boom. Good enough. All right, folks. So let me, instead of me just talking about it, let me pull this up on the screen, and then we will go over it today. All right. So here we go. Let me put it up on the screen today. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. All right. I've been playing around with this for a long time. We've been talking about this for years, and I've done pieces and parts of it for, forever, but putting it all together in one place at one time, I've never done this before. Okay. So what we're going to do now, let's put this over here so that we can talk about all of these things today. Well, I don't think we'll be able to cover them all, but I want you to be able to see this. So we're going to add this to our stage right here, right now. Okay. So these are some of the things that are most common that we have been taught that we should never, ever do. All right. Lower the interest rate. Now, how many of us have been told that the higher interest rates are bad and the lower interest rates are good? And we should always try to get the lower interest rate. I'm telling you today, we need to challenge that thinking. And I'm going to challenge as many of these as I can just to show you today that you need to be a part of our 5-day challenge and go deeper into these things and how the banks have conditioned us to be complicit in our own victimization. We victimize ourselves by giving away our money, and we're taught to do it by doing these things. And so let me go through this list. Lower the interest rate. Make a large down payment. If you're buying a house, shouldn't you make a large down payment? We're going to challenge that thinking today, and you should never do this. You should never make a large down payment on a house or a car. All right. And here's another one. Pay cash. If you can afford it, you should be paying cash. Let me tell you something. If you pay cash for a house, you are giving up a lot, I mean, a ton of other benefits, because we're only looking in one place. We're looking where the banks and the powers that be want us to look, but we're not looking elsewhere to see what the benefits are of borrowing or leveraging correctly. So paying cash for a car or a house is not the best idea. In fact, it is a terrible idea. Borrowing the money correctly is the best idea. Leveraging is the best idea. All right. So we're going to get into that. Now, what else is going on here? All right. Pay cash for a house. Avoid interest only loans. You know how many times we've been told that? So you got an interest only loan, it can hurt you. Interest only loans are one of the best type of mortgages out there today when you understand it. We're going to be challenging these things. All right. Buy down the rate. How many have heard about buying down the rate? You have an interest rate and you don't like the rate because you've been told that the rate is too high. Now, there's a difference between needing a lower rate and wanting a lower rate. And if you don't need a lower rate, let me tell you, if you right now, the interest rates are just under 7, maybe 6.5, maybe some can get 6.25. Okay. But going lower than that, you actually make it harder to pay the loan off faster and cheaper. The lower the interest rate, the harder it is to pay off the loan. I want to challenge your thinking on these things so that we can be set for our 5-day challenge that's coming up. And I'm going to show you some of these things today. All right. So, and listen, and don't let others buy down the rate for you. There are builders out there as an incentive. They will buy down the rate for you. I'm going to tell you how to use that money another way so that having someone else buy down the rate is just as bad as you buying down the rate. So if you can listen, let's say you qualify for a 7% rate and the builder says, if you buy our house, we can get you a 5% rate. I would not take it. And I'm going to show you the reason why today. All right. Use cash for emergencies. Oh my gosh. If you have cash and you have credit cards, you should never use cash for emergencies if you have both. Okay. All right. If for some reason you're low on cash and cash is a struggle for you, you don't have enough money, then save a little cash on the sideline. But if you have cash and credit available to you, the credit is actually cheaper than cash. Yes, we're going to be challenging all the ideas that you've ever been told during our 5-day challenge. And I'm going to challenge some of these things for you today. And it's not just me telling you, it's just not going to be me showing you. In our 5-day challenge, we're going to give you the tools to work these things out for yourself. You'll be able to see these things for yourself in your own notes and workbooks that you will be creating during our 5-day challenge. We're going to teach you the math. We're going to teach you what you need to know to figure these things out for yourself so that you can know that what we have been taught is the wrong thing. Throw out everything you've ever been taught about debt. Okay. Lock the rate when you can. So if you have a mortgage and you like the rate and they want to teach you how to, lock in that rate because the rate could go higher. Don't lock in the rate. Don't lock in the rate. Don't ever lock in your rate. You don't need to, because what we need to focus on is not interest rate. We need to focus on interest cost. And we're going to teach you how to focus in on these things. By the way, do something for me today. This is a very important show. I need everyone who watches the show either live today or watches the replay, invite others to see this, because nowhere else are you going to get this kind of information on these subjects. Okay? Get a 15-year mortgage. In fact, Dave Ramsey says, if you can't afford a 15-year mortgage, you can't afford the house. And we're going to tell you today that never, ever get a 15-year mortgage. Don't do it. Don't ever get a 15-year mortgage. You don't need it. You don't need permission to have a 15-year mortgage. Okay. You can get a 30 and easily pay it off in 15 if that's what you want. But working with us and our opportunity cost calculator, you can actually pay off your 30-year mortgage in about 7 years. So you don't need a 15-year mortgage. Get a 30 and pay it off in 7. We're going to challenge the conventional thinking, because the conventional thinking today, listen to me now, the conventional thinking, what we're taught to do, the best practices, actually keep you in debt longer and cost you more interest long term. Start inviting folks in today, folks, because we're challenging the whole thing today. All right. Refinance to a lower rate. Now, I was just talking to somebody. They were standing in my living room just this week. And when they heard me say, do not refinance to a lower rate. And they said, even if you can get it down by 2 points, you mean like from going from a 7% rate down to a 5% rate? I said, never do it. And that piqued their interest so much, they wanted me to show them why we should never do this. And we're going to show you how to figure this out for yourself during our 5-day challenge. But some of these things I'll be able to go over today. Okay. Refinance to a lower rate. Don't do it. Oh, biweekly payments. Did you know that you should never do biweekly payments either? If you understand how to read an amortization schedule, because biweekly payments, the most they can do, the best they can do, is save you between 4.9 and 7 years. 7 years is the top on a 30-year mortgage. So you can turn a 30-year mortgage into 23-year mortgage, saving you 7 years. Or you can use the P.I.L.L method and pay off the house in 7, saving 23. So never ever get a don't do biweekly payments. We're going to challenge that conventional thinking as well. Avoid variable rate mortgages. Oh my gosh. There are times, and we can show you that you don't need to be afraid of variable rate mortgages. Well, Don, what if the rate when it's time for it to adjust, what if my rate adjusts up? Well, if you have prepaid your mortgage, if you have followed our system, if you have paid it down so that you have a lot less principal left to pay, by raising the interest rate, you can actually lower your payment, because you don't owe as much as the bank would love for you to owe. You owe a lot less. You have a lot more equity in that house. We're going to show you how to get equity 5 to 7 times faster, so that if the rate should rise, it's going to do 2 things for you. Number one is your payment is going to be lower, because we have a higher interest rate. Okay. The second thing is you'll be able to pay the loan off even faster and cheaper at that higher rate. Hi, Deborah. I haven't seen you in a long time. We need to talk. All right. So listen, folks, here are some other things that we're going to be challenging during our 5-day challenge. Okay. Let's see. Prepay as much as you can. Okay. Now, you prepaying as much as you can as soon as you can is the wrong move. You want to, when you're prepaying your mortgage, your student loans, your credit cards, you want to pay the least amount of the money you have available in the right month, on the right day of the month, all right, to the right loan, to maximize interest savings per dollar. We have been told to throw as much money at debt as we possibly can, as soon as we can. Listen, folks, the idea around saving money on debt, the idea of paying off debt, is not about how fast you can pay it off. It's about how cheaply you can pay it off. Okay. So saving the maximum amount of interest that you possibly can has to do with a couple of things. Now, you want to optimize interest savings per dollar. Now, meaning once you find out the right amount to put towards your mortgage or any other debt to optimize interest savings, meaning let's just say you can save $6 in interest for every dollar you place on principal. Well, you certainly wouldn't want to save $3. Okay. So once you find out what the maximum amount is, putting any more on than you should actually reduces the amount of interest you can save per dollar. In fact, what you're doing is robbing yourself of taking that extra money that's not doing you any good by placing it on the debt, taking that extra money and putting it into some sort of investment like real estate, insurance, um, uh, 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 stocks. Okay, whatever your investment is, put the money in an investment and make money with it instead of throwing it at the debt when you've already maximized your interest savings by prepaying the debt. Once you've maximized it, you can't do better than maximum. Take the rest of that money and invest it. Okay. So here's another one that we've been taught to do that is hurting a lot of people across the land. All right. We're taught to think that credit card interest is the absolute worst. Don't you believe it? We're going to show you the math during the 5-day challenge. Listen, we are attacking some sacred cows here today. All right. We're attacking some sacred cows here today. And I want you to know that our goal is to do just that. Throw everything out that you've ever been taught about how lending works. Just throw it out because it is designed to keep you in debt longer and cost you more money in interest. I've got to bring another document up here. So let me find that. Okay, good. All right. So, all right, here's another one. Landlords don't prepay your mortgages. Landlords don't prepay your mortgages because your tenants are paying the mortgage for you. Don't think like that. We'll be able to show you that landlords, your tenants aren't paying your mortgage, you're paying your mortgage. Your tenants don't have a mortgage, you do. They're giving you money so that you can make money in profits on your buildings. And then take the money that they give you, you pay the mortgage with it. But you're spending a ton of money on interest out of the money that they give you. You need to be saving some of that money so that you can invest it in other properties. We're going to tell you that that kind of thinking is the wrong thinking. Don't you do it. All right. Use or have you heard of using velocity banking to pay off your debt, or different strategies using HELOCs to help you to pay off the debt? These strategies do work, but they're not optimum. So my question would be, do you want to save some interest, or do you want to save the maximum amount of interest for you? What is it that you would like to do? All right, that's what we're going to be talking about. Let's not just settle for something. Let's always strive for the most, for the best. Let's see. If you were investing, would you want to invest $1,000 to make $10,000? Or would you want to invest $10,000 to make $10,000? When it comes to investing, we know what we want to do. We want to invest the least and make the most. But when it comes to our debt, we're taught to throw the most at it and get the least out of it. it is turned on its head. The very things that we're taught to do, we need to stop doing. Throw everything out. Okay? Follow the debt snowball method, follow the avalanche method, follow these other methods to pay off your debt. What these other methods do not do, ladies and gentlemen, is they don't measure how much interest you're actually paying and how much interest you're actually saving. The key to managing debt is the same as managing a business, is the same as managing your home finances. You want to get the most you can for the least paid. You want to keep your expenses extremely low and your benefits extremely high. And your greatest expense, even more than taxes, is the interest you will pay throughout your lifetime. The average family pays 35 to 39% of their income on interest alone. It's set up that way, but we are made not, we're made not to feel it, and we are conditioned not to see it. We're also conditioned not to measure it. So, folks, you can't optimize what you cannot measure. And we have been taught not to measure interest cost. We have been taught not to measure interest savings. We have been taught not to measure when it comes to getting debt. We've been taught to look at rates. We've been taught to look at payments. We've been taught to look at a bunch of other things, except the one thing that we need to pay attention to, and that is how much interest is going to the banks. So let's start there today. All right. So I'm bringing up my show notes so that I can stay on track today. All right. So the next point that we want to go over, all right, is how is it that we don't understand how any of this works? Okay. So let's see. Good morning. Deborah says, good morning. She says, I'm trying to get my son on board with the P.I.L.L method. Oh my goodness. That would be so great, Deborah. So listen, have them watch these videos on YouTube. And if you want, set up a, give us a call, all right, at 256-886-1867. That's 256-886-1867. Ask to speak to me. And then, or if you still have my cell phone number, that'd be great. I just don't give my cell phone number out over the air. But let's talk about this and how you can do maybe a text introduction, and I can answer a few questions for your son. How does that sound? Okay. All right, folks. So let's go ahead and talk about this thing. How in the world did we get here in the first place? We don't understand how debt works. So if you don't understand how it works, if you don't understand the problem, how can you get a solution that is going to help you and not the banks? So let's talk about what is happening with them. Okay, let's talk about it. So let me put this up here. All right. So we're going to bring up Brett Whistle. Okay. We're going to put in we're going to put a $500,000 mortgage in at 7%. We're going to learn how to read. Okay. We're going to learn how to read this thing. Okay. Nope, I don't want to do that. The national average right now, the median home price across the country is actually 400,000. So we're going to use that, okay, as our example. And I need you to pull out your calculators because I need you to see what the banks see. And these are just some of the things we are going to challenge, okay, when it comes to understanding how debt works. Just some of the things that we're going to challenge. Okay. So if you want to see this, make sure that you're saving whatever you're watching us on. And if you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, put in the comments, put your questions in. All right. And right now, I'm going to tell you, I cannot, if you're on LinkedIn, I can't see your questions. I can see your questions on Facebook. I can see your questions on YouTube. All right. So if you put questions in on LinkedIn, I won't see them till much later. All right. But if you want them live, all right, do that. And let me also give you a link so that you can join me here live on our show on YouTube. All right. So let's put that in. I'm putting that in the comment section. All right. There we go. And I'm also putting it on Clubhouse as well. There we go. And you can join us live here. All right. Come in and you can ask your questions live. We can talk to each other if you use this link. All right. So let's do that. Let's talk. All right. I have, oh, look at this. I have 300 payments. I need 360. We're going to do a 30-year mortgage. Okay. There we go. Let's do that. 30-year mortgage at 7%. The payment is $2,661.21. Let me just show you some of the things that the bank is looking for. All right. And here is the first one. Out of that $2,661 that you're paying each month on this mortgage, the first payment here, 2333.33. I need you to see what the bank sees. You're looking at the amount. I'm telling you, your bank, your credit union, your mortgage company, they really don't care what the payment is. What they care about, where they make their money, is how much of the payment you make stays with them. That's what's important. And I learned that, and I told this story before, but I need to tell it again. I learned that early in my life when I was talking to my barber, Tommy Henry, in Battle Creek, Michigan. I'm sitting in Tommy's barbershop, and listen, Tommy is an entrepreneur to his heart, okay? And I just saw on Facebook where he was given a lifetime award from some of the folks there in Battle Creek, Michigan. And congratulations to you, Tommy. And if anybody's in Battle Creek that's watching this, please let Tommy know, all right, that I said that. Now, here's the thing. Tommy asked me, what do you think makes the most money in my barbershop? And I called Tommy an entrepreneur because every single portion of that barbershop made money. You know, I love to play the pinball machine. That made money. Tommy was the first person I knew of that had his own payphone in the barbershop. And that was years ago when payphones were still popular. All right. That was way before cell phones, but Tommy had his own payphone in the barbershop. In fact, he used to have Ma Bell's payphone in the barbershop. And he said, why am I having them putting their, and then I pay them to put a payphone in the barbershop and people have to pay to use it. And I got to pay them to put, no, he says, he found a payphone, that he could own, put it in the barbershop and people could use that payphone. So he had the pop machine. He had other barbers in at barber chairs in there, and they all used towels, and he charged them to even wash the towels. Every piece of that thing made money. So he asked me, "What makes the most money here?" I gave him a guess, and I didn't know. I just guessed the pop machine. He says, "No, it's the gumball machine." Says the gumball machine. But Tommy, they only cost a quarter. Those gumballs only cost a quarter. He said, yes, but they only cost me 4 cents. That was a huge eye-opening revelation to me. It's not how much you pay. It's not how much it's not how much you take in. It is how much of your money you use to make the money. He made for every 4 cents, he got a quarter back. So for every gumball, he made 21 cents, and he sold a bunch of them. All right. In fact, he had so many quarters by the end of the month. You know, he had to put them in sacks to take them to the bank. So Tommy is my entrepreneurial hero. All right. So he got me here, is one of my influences. So let me show you out of this $2,333. Let me show you what's going on here. I'm going to put my calculator on the screen, and we're going to put in the calculator $2,333.33. Hey, Daryl, how you doing, buddy? Listen, Deborah, Daryl, raise your hand. Come to the stage. As you, I love it when people ask questions and I can answer the question live. I really don't like talking like this, okay? I would much rather answer your question, okay? There we go. Invite to speak, all right? There you go, Deborah. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's so good to hear your voice.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have a question or comment at this point?
No, I'm just so listening to you now. You're such a wealth of knowledge. What a remarkable man he was. He understood way back then that to make money, you buy something for 4 cents and sell it for 25. I mean, what a remarkable smart man he was. So
Exactly.
God bless you. Thank you for having this room. Yeah.
Well, you're so welcome.
Mhm.
Thank you, Deborah, for being here today. All right.
Yeah.
Listen, if a question or comment comes to your mind, please break in. Don't wait for me to pause. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
Yes.
welcome. All right. So now,
Mhm.
folks, we have the first interest payment on here, $2,333.33. So I'm going to scroll up. We're going to show you the regular payment. So we're going to divide it by 2,661.21 equals 80.876, or 88 cents out of every dollar. 88% of this payment is interest. The bank keeps that out of your payment. Now, you've got a house that you like. You sign the mortgage papers. They gave you a rate that you obviously thought was okay. Signed all the papers just so. Wait a minute. We're not done yet. Maybe, just maybe, you put a large down payment on this house as well. Maybe, just maybe, you paid your own closing costs as well. So there's a lot of money you invested in this home to move into the home, not to mention the amount of money you had to spend to put furniture in it, the amount of money you had to spend to put landscaping around it. So there's a lot of money being spent to get into this home that you obviously care a great deal about. And that was one of your life's goals. And you feel so happy for getting that goal. All right. You made the goal. You've got the home. But what they didn't tell you is with this mortgage, 88% of your payment is interest. In other words, every dollar you give them towards the payment, 88 cents goes to them. And you're paying your mortgage down with 12 cents out of every dollar you give them in the beginning. And we're taught that that's okay. And the reason why we're taught that that's okay, folks, is the bank doesn't care what your payment is as long as they get 88% of it. Okay? Can I show you something else? Right, let me show you something else.
Sure.
Okay. So we're looking at 400,000. Well, down, of course, 88%, because the mortgage is so high. So let's do this. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to put up, all right, a new tab here, and we're going to duplicate this tab. And now we're going to change this to 200,000. Okay, 200,000. Still at the same interest rate though. Okay, the bank doesn't care what the payment is. They don't care how much you borrow. What they care about is how much of the money you pay, how much can they keep. So we got 13, 30, 60. It's a $200,000 mortgage now, not a $400,000 mortgage. The payment is 1,330 and 60 cents. So let's put our calculator back up. We're going to put $1,330 and 60 cents in. I'm sorry, that's wrong. What we're going to do is put the first interest payment in. Sorry. Okay, let's clear it. Okay, so we're going to put the first interest payment, which is $1,166.67. Now we're going to divide that by our regular payment, divided by $1,166.67. No, nope. Lord have mercy. You think this is the first time I've done this? Hey, Daryl, how you doing, buddy? Come up to the stage. All right. So we're going to divide it by the payment of 1330.60. Okay, divided by 1330 and 60 cents. Okay, when we do that, it equals 88% again. The bank doesn't care what the payment is. It doesn't care how much you borrow. What they care about is whatever you pay, they want to keep the maximum amount of what you pay with them. That's what they care about. That's what we're taught not to look at. And the system is so fragile. This is why you never learn how the system works. It's not taught in your school. It's not taught in high school. It's not taught in college. It's not taught anywhere where there's financial education, because they guard this information. Okay, they keep it close to their vest so that you don't know how weak the system actually is that makes them so much money. Because with this mortgage, okay, the way that it's set up, just by prepaying 1 month's worth of principal, meaning I give it to the bank early. Let's say this payment is made in January. The full payment of $2,661 is made in January. And I look at February's principal payment of only $329.79. If I give that to the bank in January as well, I'm paid down to line 2 on my amortization schedule. So my next mortgage payment for February is actually on line 3. What just happened? I just saved the $2,331.42 in interest on line 2. I never have to pay. The total interest cost on line 2 is gone. It's wiped out. I never have to pay that. This is why you are not taught the benefit of prepaying. Okay, what you're taught to look at is if you give, well, let's do this. I owe $400,000. Okay, I owe $400,000, and if I prepay even $4,063.23, look at this. I still owe $395,936.77. If I'm taught to look here, okay, if I'm taught to look here, I still owe $395,000. That's practically $400,000. You mean you want me to take $4,000 out of my bank, put it towards the mortgage, and I still owe $395,000. Yeah, that's true. But we shouldn't be looking there. We should cast our gaze here on how much interest we didn't have to pay. Because if we do it the bank's way, ladies and gentlemen, by the time I pay my loan down by $4,063.23, I will have also given them $27,871.29 of my hard-earned money. They get to keep it as interest, and it does, and none of that money helps me. It does help them. They will invest it. They will make a lot of money with it, but it doesn't help me. It doesn't help you. Okay. And if you are a believer, if you go to church, if you are investing in charities, in missions, if you want your money to do good, look at all this money that's getting away from you that you can't give. I need you to watch, just watch the first 5 years, $27,000 in interest. The second year, $55,000 in interest, and you've only paid the loan down by $8,000. The third year, you paid the loan down by $13,000. What do you have something to say, Deborah?
Yeah, Jonathan, how many years is the interest on your house? You're just making payments for the interest. How many, is it 20 years? First, for 20 years, you pay just interest?
Well, you're paying interest. You're paying interest the whole time. It's just the percentage of interest that we're focused on.
Yes.
But here's the thing. It is, you pay for the first 18, 19, or 20 years, depending on the loan. Okay. You're paying off the first half of the mortgage. You pay off, it takes you about 20 years to pay off the first half.
Yeah.
You pay off the second half in the last 10 years. Okay. And since you asked me that, I'm going to put that on the screen now. But I need to show at 36 months, Deborah, you only pay this loan down by $13,000, but here, $82,000. By the time we're in this loan for 3 years, we're so used to having the house. We're so used to making these payments on time. We're not focusing on the fact that we've paid out nearly $100,000 just in interest, just to pay the loan down by $13,000. People are so shocked to see this. Now, let's talk about your question, Deborah. These are the things we need to challenge, ladies and gentlemen. So let's just see, we have $400,000. Let's scroll down till we see $200,000 in principal balance. That will be half the loan. So I'm scrolling down, and let's see how long it takes us to pay off half this loan. Okay. And there it is. Here it is, 201. Then it goes to 199, right around in there. That's 260 payments. Okay. 260 payments. All right. So let's take a look at that.
Yeah, so you're paying most of it up front for interest.
Mm-hmm.
But I love your method where if you pay one extra payment, what is it, a year, Jonathan? Then is that what you're, one extra payment, house payment a year? Is that?
No, that's not what we're doing. What we're doing is making sure that you prepay the right amount of money at the right time to cancel as much interest as you possibly can.
I agree. Yes,
that's what we're talking about. So we have to pay 200. It takes 260 payments. All right. So we're going to divide that by 12. Okay. That means it takes us 21 years. It takes us over 21 years to pay off the first half of the mortgage. The last half of this mortgage gets paid off in the last 9 years. Look at that. Now, how is it? It takes 21 years to pay off the first half, but it only takes 9 years to pay off the second half. Because the interest, you're putting more money towards principal and less money towards interest. So because you're paying less interest, you can pay the loan off faster. In the last half goes away in just 9 years. Thank you for bringing that up, Deborah. That was a very, very good point. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is crucial for you to know this. This is what the bank is doing to us. And we think it's okay because everybody's doing it. We have not been taught to challenge these things. We need to challenge them. And that's why we put together a 5-day challenge just so that you can learn these things. And you're going to be working these things out on your own, in the privacy of your own home. And you'll have the notes right there as to how all of this works for you. Everything that you've ever been taught about borrowing for your mortgage, credit cards, car loans, personal loans, student loans, all of that is going to be shown you, taught to you, so that you can do this for yourself. All right. How you can challenge what you have been taught. These automatic thoughts we're going to challenge you on that. Here's one automatic thought. People need to keep a mortgage so that they can have the tax breaks. I didn't add that to the list, but I need to add it to the list. Don't do that. Okay. That's another one that we'll get to challenge during that time. So anybody else have any other questions right now as to why we're doing what we're doing? All right. So let me go over this part. There is a psychological component, okay, to all of this. We're going to take this off the screen. Okay. And go back to this. All right. There's a psychological component to what, and in that psychological component, ladies and gentlemen, we have, let me pull this up. There we go. All right, where is that? I'm trying to pull up my PDF here.
So, I see my friend Kim in the audience.
Hey, Kim, come on up. Raise your hand. Come on up. Okay.
We're talking about paying how you pay most interest in the first 20 years on your house.
All right. So, hi, Kim. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Don. Excellent. Thank you, sir, for inviting me up.
All right. Listen, we're challenging a lot of sacred cows here today. Some of the things that we've been told, like I just went over the list earlier before you got here. Lower the interest rate. These are some of the things we're taught to do. And I'm going to go over the list, and we should never do that. Lower the interest rate, make a large down payment, cash out refi to consolidate debt. Don't do it. Pay cash for a house. Don't do it. Avoid interest-only loans. We should avoid we should use interest-only loans. In fact, if you know how to use an interest-only loan, it's a great loan. Okay. We're taught to avoid loans with prepayment penalties. If you're a real estate investor, prepayment penalties are great. I'm going to show. We're going to challenge these things and show you how to do it. Never buy down the rate. So there are. We have a list of about 20 things that we've been taught that we're challenging today, Kim, on what to do. What we have been taught to do actually keeps us in debt longer. Do you have a question or a comment this morning about any of these things that people are being taught today, Kim?
Hey, Don, not right now, but thank you so much. I'll keep listening.
Thank you. Go right ahead. Now, somebody told me the other day that one of the reasons why people, the housing is so slow right now is because the interest rates are so high. Let me tell you something. That is the best time to buy. That is the best time to buy. We need to challenge that right now. For all of you realtors out there that are being challenged by this way of thinking, you need to contact me yesterday, because we can actually show you how getting a loan at a higher interest rate, if you can afford the payment, is actually better than the lower interest rate if you buy the rate down or allow somebody else to buy it down for you. This is why we need to challenge everything that we've ever been taught, because we're going to show you the math behind it, the numbers behind it, the logic behind it. We're going to remove the feelings behind it, okay? And that's why I need to pull this next thing up. All right, I'm gonna pull up, and we're gonna go over. Okay, we don't want that. I need to bring this back here. All right, and get that off the screen. That's an old show. All right, so there we go, and there it is. Okay, I'm bringing up my notes today. Okay, so I want to talk about how we're conditioned to think a certain way because of the banks exploit our fears of not knowing. Okay? Loss aversion. Let me tell you something. Right now, if you stop to think about it, the fear of loss is greater than the desire for gain. And this whole banking system takes advantage of that. It's called loss aversion. That's what behavioral economists call it, loss aversion. So I can look at a situation, and if I think that the interest rates are high without actually doing the math, I think that I'm losing. So I don't want to lose. So without even doing the math, I'm going to do everything I can to lower the interest rate without doing the math to find out if I'm putting myself in harm's way. Because of loss aversion, I'm going to look at the high rate and make a decision on just half the data. What do you mean, Don, by using half the data? What I mean is this. If I only look at what I think is the problem, I never look at the benefit, and I make a decision only based on a perceived problem. Loss aversion is powerful when it causes us to spend way more money. So how many of us have paid too little for something? I needed something for the home. I needed an item. I needed a washing machine. I needed a dishwasher. I needed a new car. Whatever it is that you need. And we got good, we've got better, and we've got best. And so we're looking at one of the major things we use in determining whether we're going to pay for something is how much does it cost? And when I got married, one of the things I used to look at is how much does it cost? And I would go out to buy a suit, and I would look through the store, and I say, oh, this one has a good price. Let me get it. I bring the suit home, and my wife had to tell me, Don, there's a difference between buying a cheap suit and buying a good suit cheaply, or saving money on a good suit. You pay for a cheap suit. That's exactly what you have. And she taught me what to look for and to get a bargain or to get a great benefit for a sale price. So don't just look at the price, okay? So I'm looking at whatever I have to pay, and I'm making a decision on that. So I'm looking at my mortgage, ladies and gentlemen. I'm looking at that. I'm looking at what it is that I have to buy. I'm looking at all of those things. But what I'm missing out on is I'm making a decision based on how much money is coming out of my pocket to pay the payments. I'm not looking at how many extra payments I have to make because of the choice that I made. I'm not looking at the overall interest cost on the thing. I'm looking at the one payment here. So we're taught to make a decision to lower the interest rate because I'm afraid of what I have to pay now. And I'm not looking at the long-term interest savings over time. We'll make a decision on what we see right now, as opposed to looking at the great benefit of making a decision to get the benefits later. I've seen this happen so many times, Deborah, so many times, Kim. Everybody else that's watching online, I have seen this too many times. When people will say, you know what, I like this lower payment, but they don't know that it's going to cost them an extra $200,000 not to follow our advice. And they will choose the short-term gain right now and forego the $200,000 savings over time. Okay, that's
But
called.
Jonathan, I don't understand.
No, this is my name is Don.
I mean, Don, if I buy a house,
Yep.
I was thinking Jonathan Bing. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
that's okay.
Don, so if I buy a $200,000 house at 2.6% interest rate,
Mhm.
why would it be better to buy that house at 6% interest rate?
Okay, let's go over that. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so let's take this off the screen. And we're going to do, what did you say, a $200,000 house? Okay. And put
Yeah.
that, okay.
Or, yeah, 200, 400, whichever.
Yeah, we'll do 200.
Okay.
We'll do what you said, 200,000. Okay. And you said, well, the 2.3 is not coming back, but I'll use it anyway. 2.3. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And then we have the same house at 6%. Okay. You're going to duplicate that tab and we're going to do it at 6%. And we're going to show you. Okay. When I show you this, I'm going to show you one extra benefit as well. Okay, Deborah? Okay.
Yes.
So now here's the payment. Here's how this payment breaks down. Okay. Here's how this payment breaks down. This is on the 2.3%. $386.27 goes to principal. Only $383.33 goes to interest. So right now you're putting more money on principal, less money on interest. That's what we're taught to look at. Okay, on the 2.3. On the 6% loan, here's what we're taught to look at. Only $199 goes to principal, $1,000 goes to interest. So you're asking me, Don, if at 6%, only $199 goes to principal and $1,000 goes to interest, why would I prefer that over putting $386 on principal and only $383.33 on interest? Is that what you're asking?
I see. Yes. Thank you, Don.
Okay. So here's what's going on. I need you to remember this. Control the principal payment and you control the loan, not the interest rate. Control the principal payment and you control the loan. Interest payments I can skip, don't matter. Okay. So if I have this 2.3% loan and I make my payment in January and I want to eliminate 1 month from my payment schedule, I can prepay $387 and a penny. I can pay that also in January. The bank would have to subtract that from what I owe, and I can skip right over this interest payment of $382.59. All right. And my next mortgage payment is on line 3 of the schedule. So far, so good. Okay. I prepay the 387. I don't have to pay the interest on line 2. I can look at all 12 months and look at the total amount of principal. If I wanted to, I could prepay $4,684.38, wipe out 12 months worth of payments, and save over $4,000 worth of interest if I wanted to do that. Okay? All right. So here's what I need you all to see. Okay. Here's what I need you all to see. Let's take a look at the 6%. Remember what I said before: control the principal payment and control the loan. Interest payments you skip don't matter. This is why we need to challenge it. If I want to prepay, look at that. If I want to skip out, if I want to cut out a payment, all I need to do is come up with $200.10 and eliminate one line from my mortgage payment. Just $200.10 prepaid, not $387, almost twice as much. You see, when you lower the interest rate, ladies and gentlemen, you make it harder to prepay the loan. Okay? You make it harder to prepay that loan when you do that. Okay? So if I want to get rid of 1 year, I just have to prepay $2,456 and a penny. Okay? And that's the wrong loan. Sorry. Okay? Okay. Okay, here we go. Here's where we want to look. $4,600 prepaid, but on the 6% loan, we just have to prepay $2,456.01 to get rid of 1 year worth of payment and save a ton of money in interest. So it's how much we can save, because the more we save, the faster we can get out of debt, and the cheaper it is in the beginning to eliminate payments if the interest rate is slightly higher. But we're not told that at the bank. We're not told that by Dave Ramsey. We're not told that by Susie Orman. We're not told that by the conventional mortgage information that's out there right now. We're told to do the exact opposite. Get the lowest rate possible. Okay, here is the third situation I promised you, and it will become very, very clear. Okay, in the 70s and 80s, interest rates got to as high as 18%. Let's put in the median home price of $70,000 back then. Okay, that's across the country. Let's put in 18% interest. And I need you to see what's going on here. Watch this. Look at this. Only $4.96 goes to principal. $1,000 goes to interest. Look on line 2. If I made that payment, if I made my first payment of $1,054.96, that's my regular payment. Only $496 goes to principal. That's it. $1,050 goes to interest. But on the next line, $5.03 is my principal payment. So if I prepay $5.03, I get to eliminate one line of my amortization schedule. Now, am I saying go out and get an 18% loan? No, I am not saying that. But what I am saying is we need to find out what the right interest rate is for us. And I can almost guarantee you it will never, ever be the lowest interest rate you can get. It won't be the lowest. It won't be the highest. You need to find out what the right interest rate is for you, but don't automatically think lower is better when it comes to interest rates. What we need to lower is interest cost efficiently. What is the best way for you as an individual to get rid of interest cost? And that is that's what we're challenging. Now, that's the conventional wisdom we're challenging today. Don't look at rate, don't look at payment, look at cost and how to mitigate cost efficiently. So I hope that answers the question. So we're taught to look at all of these things and not pay attention to the math. You see, the math takes time. The math is something that has to be worked on. Okay, so if we take a look at all the math involved, that is another psychological barrier, because the more variables that you have, the more things you have to think about, the more things that, so the average family has 13 different debts. That's the average family. 35 to 39% of the take home for the average family, no matter how much money they make. Okay, 35 to 39% of your take home is interest, just the interest portion on your loans. If the average family is dealing with that, no matter how much money they make, that's more you have to think about. So what we want is something easy to do, like a debt snowball. Give me something easy. Give me something easy like an avalanche method or a biweekly payment, where I'm not actually measuring how much interest I'm saving or losing. I just know that I'm doing better than if I did nothing. Folks, we need a system that does all the math. We can take the emotion out of it. We make financial decisions based on emotion, not financial facts. And banking has been taking advantage of that our entire lives. What do you mean in my entire life? Yeah, well, your parents paid a lot of interest, and we model what we've been taught. So if everybody is doing it, we're going to do the same. Not pay attention to interest cost, only look at interest rate and payments, and make decisions based on how the bank frames it. How does the bank framing it? Okay, let's talk about framing a cash out refi. Okay, let's talk about that. All right, hold on. So I've got a message coming in. Let me put this up on a different screen. All right, and see what we're talking about here. Okay, and there we go. And this is why we need you. Okay, this is why we need you to focus on these things. All right, I got some people putting up some information here online, and I just need you to see this clearly for the first time in your entire life. So please pay attention. Please tell somebody else. Tell somebody else to watch this particular show. Challenge everything you've ever been told about debt, because everything you've ever been taught, everything that you've ever heard that's good about how to manage your debt, it's all wrong. All of it. Every single bit of it. Because we're not taught how to measure. We're not taught to look in the right areas. And this is why we've come up with the challenge today that we're going to be putting on here soon. So that for 5 days, you're going to be working with me. Okay? 5 days, you're going to be working with me. And we're going to learn so much about debt that not only that we can use, but we can teach to our children and our grandchildren about how all of this was supposed to work in the first place. All of it's out there. We just need to learn how to make it work for us. Okay? So let me pull this up. Okay, so how banks frame something. Okay, here's another way it can be framed. Okay, framing to refi to pay off a lot of high interest debt. Okay, that's called that's a way that banks frame things. So we have 4% interest. Okay, and we've been in at 7% interest on a $400,000 loan. We've been in the loan for 5 years. Okay, that's 60 payments. We paid it down by $23,000. We paid out $136,000 in interest already by doing that, and we still owe $376,000. But the house has, in 5 years, it has gained. We have gained about $100,000 in equity. Congratulations, $100,000 in equity. What if we want to take $50,000 out? Okay. Okay, Kim. Let's see. What is Kim saying here? All right, that's right. Okay. So here's what we're looking at, folks. I want to show you. We're going to put this back on the screen. Okay. Let's put this back on the screen and show you these things. All right. There we have it. All right. So in 60 months, we've paid this loan down by $23,000, and it cost us $136,000 in interest to do it. But we have gained equity of over $100,000. Let's just say we're going to take we're going to cash out refi, take $50,000 out, take $50,000 out of our equity, and pay off a lot of these loans. And here's how it's framed. We're going to lower our monthly payments going out, okay, by $700. What? Yeah. Okay, because we're going to be making one payment to the mortgage. We're going to cut out all these other loans. We're going to pay them off with 50 grand that we're taking out, and we're going to have one payment at a lower interest rate of 5% because we're going to refinance to 5% out of our 7% loan. So this is what it looks like. So we're going to duplicate the tab. We're going to take this amount here, all right, $376,526.41. We're going to, we're going to copy that. We're going to put it into the new mortgage. Okay, take the out. We're going to put in 5%. Now, let me tell you this. I won't have time to do both examples today, but 90% of people who refi get a new 30-year mortgage. So somebody might say, well, Don, if they're 5 years in, why don't they just refi to 25 years instead of 30? It doesn't matter. It still costs way too much money. I'm only going to do this one, though, because most people do this. They refi to a new 30-year loan, okay, at 5%, okay? And we're going to put our calculator back on the screen. And we have 376,000, okay, 526.41. We paid our loan down to that in 5 years, okay? And we're going to add $50,000 to it, okay? Plus 50,000, because that's our cash out refi. And we're going to lower our payments, okay? So that equals $426,526. So we're actually owing more 5 years later than we did when we started. So we're going to, okay, let me keep that back on the screen. 426, 526. Okay. 426, 526. 426, 526 at 5%. Now remember, our payment was 2661.21. What is it now? Okay. 2289. It's just slightly higher, but because it's higher here, but we're overall, because we paid off a lot of debt, we're saving ourselves overall about $700 a month because we paid off this other debt and we got rid of all those minimum payments over there. So those are gone. So in total, we're saving ourselves about $700 a month by doing this. That's how it's framed. Save $700. Okay. But here's what they're not telling you. out of the 50,000, 10,000 of that was money that you needed to close on the refinance. Okay. 10,000 was your closing cost on the refinance. Okay. So here's what we're looking at. Let's take a look at the first, paying off the first $10,000. Let me get rid of this ad. Okay. In the first year, you're paying off just the closing cost, $6,000, $6,292.87. Look at this. Here are your principal payments. You're paying off the first $10,000. That is the closing costs, but you're only putting $500 a month on the closing costs. Guess how much interest they're charging you on the closing costs every month? Over $1,700 because it's rolled into the loan. You would never borrow $10,000 from your credit card, from your credit union and do it this way. So in the first year of this refinance, to save you $700 a month in payments going out because you paid off a bunch of debt, you paid down your entire loan by $6,292.87 in the first year. But look here, it cost you $21,000 in interest to pay off a $6,200 loan. By the time you paid off the first $10,000, this is just the closing costs. It cost you $33,392.75. The people who own the bank know that, but they framed it as if they were saving you money. That was the framing. Okay. So to borrow $10,000 in closing costs it takes 19 months to pay it off, and it costs over $33,000 in interest to pay off 10 grand. Folks, that's a 300% loan all day. If it costs if you borrow 10,000, but it costs you $30,000 to pay it back, that is a 300% loan. 300%. And this is a person with perfect credit. But what was the framing? The framing was we're going to save $700 a month because we're paying off the debt. Now, how long is it going to take to pay off the $40,000 to get back to our original amount? Our original amount was $376,526. Okay, let's find a number that's close to this, $376,526, because that's where we were after being in this first loan for 5 years. $376,526. So let's find that. Okay, $376,526, $376,526. Be right here. This is close enough. Okay. Takes us 82 months, almost 7 years to do that. Okay, almost 7 years. So to pay back $49,973.66 in total cost us $137,000. Yeah, let that sink in for a minute. Everybody who refinances cash out to pay off what they think is high interest debt. There's not one debt that they had that was 300% or 250% interest. But this is crazy. This costs way too much money. But because of framing, we're made to feel as if we're saving money. Now, because I showed you this, here's another thing that sets in. I just showed you the numbers. I just proved to you how much it costs to borrow money this way and to consolidate your debt by using money out of your house, out of your equity to pay off the debt. I just showed you that it's way too expensive. And you just put yourself into a 35-year mortgage. Yeah, you paid it down by 5 in 5 years, but then you added another 30-year mortgage to it. So now it's 35 years. And it's costing you way more money in interest. Oh boy. Oh boy. So I just showed you this. Now, what has just set in? Everybody does it this way, Don. I've seen what you're doing here. And there's a conflict going on. Should I continue to think the old way because this is how I've been taught? Or should I change over to this new way? And there is a conflict going on. That's called cognitive dissonance. That's what behavioral economists, they deal with the cognitive dissonance that says, I thought this was true. I thought this was the right way. But by looking at the numbers, I see that this is a better way, but it goes against everything that I've ever been taught. It is so hard for people to go against everything they've been taught, even when they've been shown a better way. In the challenge, we're going to learn how to challenge those automatic thoughts. We're going to learn how to challenge those thoughts so that we can take the emotion out of finances and look at the numbers, because we'll be able to identify what the emotion is. We're made to feel stuff. We're just not made to identify it. What is it? What's causing me to feel that? And can I replace that feeling with something else? Oh, yes, we can. We can replace that feeling of what we're thinking is the right thing to do with the actual right thing to do, and attach that feeling to a different way of acting, because we see what the benefits are for ourselves and for our family. And we see what the detriment is, how it was hurting us before we learned the better way. So there's a lot we're going to be going over in the challenge, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot that we're going to be going over. Okay, so what is it about this math that makes it so hard for people to understand and to do? All right, we're going to come back and we're going to show you. We're going to show you when we come back after this message, the very thing that's going to help us to make the right decisions at the right time with the right amounts of money, so that we can kill a bunch of this debt cheaper and faster. We'll be right back right after this, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. How many want to know how to pay off all of your debt in an average of 7 to 9 years? You can do all of this without refinancing, without change to your budget, without sacrificing lifestyle.
Me and my husband do the P.I.L.L method, and last year we were able to pay down $33,000 on our mortgage without feeling like we were poor. We still did tons of entertaining things and enjoyed our family.
You don't have to eat beans and rice every day. You don't have to cut up your credit cards. You don't have to drive a 30-year-old car. You don't have to sell pizzas at night to pay off your mortgage. All you need to do is pay the bank less interest. That's what we're talking about today. Here is what P.I.L.L method stands for: prepayment of principal, isolation of principal amounts, leverage, and liquidity. You understand it? You have a way of getting out of debt more efficiently. The interest rate you're quoted is not the interest rate you pay. You think you're buying a $500,000 home. The true cost of that home is what? $758,000. Total interest paid as a percentage of principal, 51.777%. That's what's going on with this loan. The ability to read and defeat an amortization schedule is not taught at any level of financial education. I need you to understand the power of a penny. You will not hear what I'm talking about from Dave Ramsey. Do you know why? Because I own the copyright. I literally wrote the book.
But Don has some valuable information that can contribute to the quality of a person's life. And it only costs you a few dollars. It's his book. Why not get that?
I'm going to go through the P.I.L.L method myself with some of my investment properties. So I'm going to link up with Don, and then I'm going to sit down with him, show him my investment portfolio, and see how I can eliminate interest.
All right, folks, we got to go in across the bottom of the screen. Go to ceodon.com to get a savings and earnings report. You can know the month, day, and year you can be debt free, and we do that for you for free. So go to ceodon.com and get a savings and earnings report. And if you want to go through, go through a consultation, my staff will help you to set that up. But if you just want the report, you can get that for free. Know the month, day, and year you can be debt free. It's usually between a 7 and 9 year window. Average interest savings, $150,000 to $200,000 in interest, and it'd be good just to know. All right. So let me show you that. Why is it so hard for us to understand what's going on behind the scenes? Why can't we just pay more? Why can't we just do it easy? Why can't we just give us a rule of thumb or a heuristic? Because of the more things you have to think about, the more things that you need to consider, the more math it takes to figure out what the right thing is to do. So tell me this. Here's at least 10 things that we've identified, okay? Somebody online has a comment here. Hey, Daryl Lane, I see you there, okay? All right, so watch this. Payment frequency and structure. Understanding when and how to receive your income is crucial for timing your prepayments correctly to align with your cash flow. Of course, that's important. Number 2, now with that, if we include the income amount, the amount of money you earn dictates how much you can realistically divert towards repayment without compromising your financial stability. Okay, some people pay too much at the wrong time. That compromises financial stability. So we need to incorporate that with the first one. Now, the third one is very important because we have the average family has 13 different debts with different balances, different interest rates, and we've got all of that going on. So each one has a different interest cost. And remember, we don't want to make decisions based on interest rate. We want to make decisions based on interest cost. Okay? Oh man, I'm talking so much. Let me get a drink of water here. Oh wow. Okay, listen. This is powerful stuff. So, number 3, each loan's specific terms, including interest rates, balance due, affect how beneficial extra payments can be. So when you put a prepayment on a different loan, say you want to prepay your car loan, okay, and save interest on your car loan, but your interest cost is only $80. So you're only going to save a portion of the $80 interest payments over there. When you're focusing on the car, you're not focusing on the $900 interest payments on the mortgage, or the $1,200 interest payments on the mortgage, or the $1,700 interest payments on the mortgage. You're not paying attention to that over there because you're focused on the $80 payments over here. It matters which one you focus on at the right time to save interest. Number 4, the amount of money left after essential expenses varies month to month, affecting your ability to make extra payments. Yes, it does. What are your expenses? Sometimes your expenses are so high, you have very little money that's left over because, emergencies happen. If you're trying to plug all this into a spreadsheet and you're telling yourself we're going to put $500 no matter what, an extra $500 on the mortgage every single month, and now there's an emergency that pops up, you're not putting that $500 on that month. Your spreadsheet is already behind. But what if there was a way to do all of the math, plug everything in, and so even though you have an emergency, you may not be able to put $500 on this month. Let's put nothing on for the next 2 months. And then the third month, let's do $750. Let's do $750 because now the money's there. What if you had a something like a GPS for your money instead of a spreadsheet? You need a dynamic program that says, this is how much money we have to work with. We're not trying to put extra money on debt every month, only at strategic times during the year. when it will save you the most amount of money in interest per dollar applied. You want every single dollar, every single dime, every single quarter, even every single penny to cancel as much interest as it possibly can. And if you have any more money available after that, put it towards an investment. Now you're making money on both ends. Oh my God. That's number 4. That's number 4. Let's look at number 5. Determining the most effective time, all right, and amount for prepayments requires complex calculations to ensure each dollar reduces the maximum amount of interest possible. Yes, it does. Number 6, managing multiple loans requires an understanding of how each contributes to your overall financial burden. Prioritizing which loans to pay down first based on factors like interest rate and principal amount is crucial. How many loans do you have? Okay, let's figure it out. What is your interest consumption per month? How much interest are you consuming per month on each loan? And how should we best attack that? Now we've got a lot more stuff to consider. Okay. As you pay down the loans, this is number 7, the interest costs dramatically change. So the interest cost on the loans change as you pay them down. The P.I.L.L method tracks these changes and adjusts focus from one loan to another, optimizing where your money should go next to maximize interest savings. Why is that important? Well, even if you were to pick the right loan because of the interest cost, by paying it down pretty soon, the interest cost on that loan is cheaper than another loan. The debt snowball requires you to pay the loan off in its entirety. Even though the interest cost gets smaller and smaller to almost nothing, you spend all your time on that one loan, even though it was the one you should have focused on. But why do that when you could pay down the loan until it's cheaper than another loan? And now you can switch over to a more expensive loan and save more interest. Remember this, folks. Pay more interest, stay in debt longer. Saving interest gets you out of debt quicker. You don't need more money to get out of debt. You need to pay less interest. And that's what we focus on. Number 8, balance the interest saved through loan prepayments with the potential interest earned from investments is crucial. We've already talked about that. This helps decide whether to prepay debt or invest surplus funds for a higher return. You see, when we invest in our mortgage or pay off the loan, we're looking at how much interest we save. That is your return on your investment for prepaying. Okay. So if you could put $200 on your loan and save $1,000 in interest, that's a 500% return on your money. 500%. Where else are you going to get that? But pretty soon, that you're not getting 500% return on that loan. So why give more money than you need to give the 500%? Get 500% over here and then take any extra money you have and put it over here to start making interest as well. A lot of these financial gurus are telling you, you have to choose, pay off the debt or invest. With the P.I.L.L method, you can do both. You can invest and eliminate debt. Number 9, emergency funds. Consider the fungibility of money. It may be more cost effective to use credit for emergencies rather than keeping large amounts of idle cash in low yield accounts. This approach can free up funds for reducing high interest cost debt. Use your money to eliminate debt. Use your money to maximize interest savings, not just putting money in the bank just in case something goes wrong and making 1/10 of 1%. Why do that when I can take $200 and save $1,000 in interest, that's a 500% return on my money. How long would my $200 have to stay in the bank to make 500% return, to make $1,000? We're taught to not to think about that. Okay. And here's number 10, understanding the impact of behavioral economics, how fear enters into all of this, such as loss aversion helps in designing interventions that encourage more rational financial behaviors. Acknowledging and addressing irrational emotional choices can lead to more disciplined and fruitful financial decisions. Folks, that is 10 variables. 10 variables. Now, how do we look at those variables? When you have 5 things you can do, all right, you can figure out how to do 5 different things in a certain order. And when you do them in the right order, when you do things in the right order, you save the most money. So let us do this. I'm going to put in, okay, 5 factorial, okay, to do factorial math. Okay, that's 5 exclamation point in Google. That's 120 different ways to look at something. If you have 5 things to do and you want to find out what is the right sequence to do them in, you have 120 different choices. And when you have 120 different choices, only one of those choices makes the most sense out of 120. Do you want to sit down and trying to figure out your debt and what is the best thing to do out of 120 different choices? Oh, no, Don. Oh, wait. You didn't say 5 variables, Don. You said 10. Okay. So when I do 10 exclamation point, okay. Uh-oh. There we go. 10 exclamation point. We get 3,628,800 different ways to look at your debt. That is impossible for a human being to do. You need an AI system that does all the math, that looks at all the variables, that looks at all the ways that you can spend your money to find the most efficient use of your money, so you're maximizing its benefits. So let's learn how to do that, folks. Let's learn how to maximize the use of our money. Okay, we're going to be talking about this more and more until we launch the challenge coming up in just about a month or 2. So stay tuned. All right. We just went through several things today. I need you to go over, and we're going to put that list back on the screen one last time. All right. Let me find my list. All right. And we're going to, did I close it up? I think I did. All right. So let's find our list. Lower the interest rate. Nope. There it is. Okay. All right. For some reason, it's not opening. Let me see if, okay, here it is. Okay. There's our list. Okay. This is what we didn't get a chance to go over everything, but it's important for us to take a look at these things. Stop trying to lower the interest rate. Stop trying to make large down payments. Cash out refi, a big problem. Pay cash for a house, never do it. Avoid interest-only loans. Yeah, interest-only loans can be great if you know how to, if you understand them and know how to use them correctly. Avoid loans with prepayment penalties. So real estate investors, a prepayment penalty loan is a great loan if you know how to use it. Okay, so we're going to be going over that. Buying down the rate, don't do that. Never buy down the rate. Okay, landlords shouldn't prepay mortgages. Yes, you should. We're going to show you why you should and how all of that is going to help you. So, folks, we need to challenge all of these things. All right, go back, watch the replay, look at all of these things that we have on the screen here, and we're going to show you how to challenge each and every one, because this is exactly what we've been told. We've been told to do these things or not to do certain things, but we have not been told how the math works out in our favor if we follow these, if we follow the guidance here. We need to know for sure, long term, if I make a financial decision, how is it best going to benefit me? Folks, we've been here for an hour and 40 minutes. I want to thank you for being with me today. We're going to be right back here next Wednesday talking about how we're gearing up for the challenge. All right. And we're gearing up for this challenge for one thing and one thing only. You deserve to know the truth about lending. I know that we have a thing in the government called truth in lending, but folks, they're not telling us the truth. We need to know how to make borrowing money beneficial for us, how to leverage efficiently, how to use our money so that we can buy more with less, so that we can invest more with less and get a better benefit. So how we can pay for college, for our kids, for ourselves, how we can get the car that we need, how we can buy the house that we want, how we can invest. If you want to be a real estate investor, what is the best way to do that? How to increase our profits, how to invest so that we can build generational wealth for our families. How do we do that? One of the ways is to lower expenses, and our most expensive cost for most families is the amount of interest we pay. We can cut that by 75%. Let me show you how. Let's sign up for that challenge as soon as it's available. Watch this over and over again. Share this with your friends, and we will be back next week. All right. So, in other words, so let me get this off our screen today. All right, and put up. Let me remove that. There we go. And there we go. All right. So thank you for being here today. We're going to, let me remove this camera. There we have it. Okay. All right. So thank you for being here today. We'll be back next week with more information. Subscribe to this channel. If you like the information, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Tell others about it so that they can they can subscribe as well. All right. You all need to know we're the only channel on the internet anywhere that's challenging these sacred cows. And we're proving that the old financial information has to go. And we need to put in the new financial information now. Thank you so much. We'll be back next week. Okay. And okay. See you.